What's an American problem you're too European to understand? Expensive required textbooks that you have to buy to take a university class. That's not the worst part. There's classes where you have to pay for an online website, only open for the semester, just to do your homework online. Usually starts at $90. Australian here. The TV ads for prescription medication always gets me. Like really specific medication too, not just a new over-the-counter painkiller. I think it's good to research medication, if you have a condition, to be informed about your options. But it's so bizarre to see ads for it in between Property Brothers episodes and ads for Taco Bell, may cause irreversible liver damage and psychotic breaks from reality. Why tipping is considered part of someone's paycheck? Because in most states it literally is, at least in the context of restaurant wait staff. The law allows employers to pay less than minimum wage under the assumption that tips will bring the amount up to minimum wage. Some states, however, have recognized that this is a bullshit system and have passed laws mandating that such employers pay minimum wage regardless of tips. Whenever such laws are proposed, employers go apish, complaining that they'll have to increase their prices, which will cause customers to go elsewhere, which will result in them going out of business. Then the law gets passed, and, lo and effing behold, no one goes out of business. Ask your doctor about this drug ads. Honestly, that one is batch crazy for us Americans too. American here. When I was studying in the UK I had to send some financial document back to the US. The only way these documents were considered valid was if the original was mailed in, or if I faxed a copy. When I asked the printing office if they could fax it for me, they looked at me like I was an alien and said the school hadn't owned a fax machines for like a decade. Then they asked me if I still use a VCR. Americans still use fax machines. I've never understood the tipping culture in the US. As an Aussie, tipping just isn't really a thing, except like paying $10 for a drink that costs $9.20 and telling the bartender to keep the change. And that's basically it. Just pay your workers decent livable wages PLS. While watching Chelsea vs Manchester United yesterday on NBCSN, during halftime there was a good recipe commercial where the guy is asking a woman if she would like to fill her prescription. He pulled up the phone and showed her that the same pill can cost from $10 to $90 depending on the area, and that good recipe can help her fill the prescription with the cheapest prices. Now someone please explain to me how in the ever-loving F is it possible for a drug to cost 10x more depending on your location? Don't they have constant prices like in the rest of the civilized world? Edit. The answers to my inquiry are even more effed up. What the F America? You're getting robbed in broad daylight. No. Prescription costs depend on what your insurance considers a fair price for it, how much they are willing to cover of that cost, only after you've met your deductible, how many doses they think you actually need, and therefore the pharmacy must oblige when filling it, and likely your home state. I cannot recount how many instances I've heard of families going bankrupt because their child is insulin dependent and they simply cannot afford it, and their house at the same time. It's effed up. Why people censor swears that are totally obvious. My favorite is when they censor damn. That's not the swearing part. I got a kick out if reading these comments. I'm American, but by the end I was reading them to figure out where I want to move to. You have $4.50 in your pocket. The fancy drink is advertised at $3.99. Do you have enough money to buy it? Dunno. Lobbying. I never understand how every politician on both sides gets away with legalized bribery and everyone just accepts it. I understand the need for specialist interest groups to promote their ideas, but to be allowed to visibly finance a politician and rate their friendliness to your cause with no repercussions is insane to me. It's bribery no matter how you dress it up. There is lobbying in Europe too. We have it in Greece. That's why it costs €7 for 1.25 GB of data. I'm too European to understand how swearing and curse words are such a big deal in movies and songs, but violence and guns are taken with a grain of salt. As an American I don't get it. As far as I'm concerned, little Jimmy on the mic has effed my mom 5 times in the past 2 hours, but his mom won't let him listen to rap music. How much do I tip? 10%? 15%? Do I tip everywhere? Why isn't the tax included? Why does the tip vary? Why are the waiters so underpaid? Edit. Also, why do you have to do your tax bill? You could literally go to prison, but it's like a guessing game from what I heard. If it's a waiter waitress, A service 20%, B service 15%, most common, C service 10%, D or below. Complain this started off with just wealthy people giving waiters tips, so they would favor them. Then everyone started giving tips. Then the restaurants figured out they could subsidize their income with tips, so it became standard. Unless you're very obviously lying, and lying by a lot, you won't go to jail. If you're lying by a little, they'll fine you. If it's an honest mistake, they'll just correct it. It's because tax bills vary so much from person to person. In my job, I can deduct 1/3 of my rent as a home office. If I put a sticker with my business name on my car, I can deduct that as well. If I fly to visit my family, I can't deduct anything, but if I fly to visit a client, I can. Other people can deduct mortgage interest, education expenses, and more. Two people who make the same gross income very rarely have the same tax rate. One person can be paying a 20% tax rate and the other can be paying 0%. I'm an American, but I have a friend who is Italian from Italy. She doesn't understand how sweet everything is, including pasta sauce and bread. And she doesn't understand our obsession with bragging about our heritage. She says if you are born in American, you are American. Not Greek, Italian, German on your mom's side, Dutch, English, Scottish on your dad's side. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect so many responses. Some of you are feeling a little salty with the implication that you shouldn't feel proud of your heritage. First of all, this was not my thought. I was repeating something that was said to me by a friend in a response to a question posed by Opus. It doesn't necessarily reflect my opinions. Second of all, I specified Italian from Italy vs an Italian American, so you could understand that she is an immigrant, first generation Italian. She came here when she was 28 years old and still considers herself to be Italian. Third of all, she was referring, I believe, to people whose relative came from other country way before they were born, and they've never been to country, don't speak the language, don't have any culture from that country. And so it goes. I'm an American, and I can't understand why everything is so sweet either. Most desserts have so much sugar that they only taste sweet. Sugar overpowers every other flavoring. With no intent to be rude, but I can't understand how so many people eat themselves to the point of needing a mobility scooter or the point of being bedbound. I live in Sweden and I believe that the absolutely heaviest person I've ever seen in 30 years was about 400 pounds. We also get like no exercise. We have to drive everywhere because the country is huge and so spread out. Unless you live in a large city where there is at least some transportation. But the real story is that in the 60s or something we started paying farmers a subsidy to grow corn because it's cheap and we just needed to feed people. Now we overproduce corn, but the government can't stop paying the subsidies to farmers, lobbyists, tradition, etc. And so we have to find ways to use it. That's why it's in everything. I mean it, everything. That adds calories and means we produce so many different kinds of junk food. Just to use this corn that we make way too much of and is making us so fat. As Americans, it's not well known to us all that we pay taxes that are used to pay farmers to produce more corn than we could ever hope to eat, to make very unhealthy food cheap enough to be sold under cost, so that we buy it, because real food is more expensive, and we earn very little income, so that this food can make us fat and die young. Why don't you seas have kettles? 30 degrees Fahrenheit, -1°C. Having to remember that cars can turn on a red light. I know this is a thing. I've known this for 10 years. I still forget and nearly die every time I need to cross a road when I'm in the US. I have learned many things in this comment thread and am formally changing my answer to traffic laws varying between states. The red light turn thing still terrifies me though. Never been to the US, but this was a thing in Canada, and I found this right on Reddit to be a smart thing. Small rule that can make traffic more fluid, why not? In Germany there is a kind of similar thing. In some traffic lights there is a metal sign with a green arrow pointing to the right, meaning the same as right on red. How strongly Americans feel about the flag. I saw a photographer get torn to pieces online because someone was standing on the tiniest bit of the flag and people went effing apeshit. In the UK most people probably couldn't spot if the Union flag was round the wrong way. Edit. Just in case you were wondering which way round the Union flag goes, in the half of the flag nearest the flagpole, the wider diagonal white stripe must be above the red diagonal stripe, as Scotland's St Andrew's Cross takes precedence over Ireland Street. Patrick's Cross. It is most improper to fly the flag upside down, but nothing people would lose their shover. It'd just be some knobhead like me who'd point it out. Also thanks for the gold. Here is one I can't understand. Strong violence on TV. No one bats an eye. Nipple slip. Everybody loses their minds. I never understood 4 things in us. Healthcare, or mostly health don't care. Prices are written on goods without taxes. Toilets that looks like small lake shower that have only one knob to set intensity and temperature of water. Shower that have only one knob to set intensity and temperature of water. My home is old and was previously owned by people who were overconfident in their DIY skills. My shower has one of these and a temperature control underneath the handle that limits how hot the water can get. I didn't know that was a thing until I couldn't get hot water and couldn't figure out why, so I called a plumber. 15 minutes and $140 later, I find out I basically have a child lock on my shower to prevent me from burning myself. Edit because I realized I never specified that I have one of these and just sort of implied it. Time to sort by controversial and eat some popcorn. Guns 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 no kettles WTF. Guns. You Americans eat like you've got free healthcare. Edit. OMG I never expected this to blow up lol. Thanks for the silver kind stranger. I like this take. Caring about other people's food. As a Pole I don't care how do you like your peerage, pizzy, card tax, biggest, etc. But damn me, if I ask in the US for a well done steak, or if I order a Hawaiian pizza, we are a feisty country and just want something to argue about. Also it's potentially our puritanical roots that have told us that we need to be highly concerned about what our fellow man is up to and to do something about it if we don't approve. Student debt. I pay €20 semester tuition in Austria. Wow. I'm in a community college, the cheap option, and I pay almost $2,000 a semester, plus a couple hundred in mandatory books and supplies. Don't forget to like this video and follow this channel to hear more Redditception.